Discard the discarding itself to the utmost, not grasping for the non-grasping itself completely, without any mind left over. In this way, it will be the purification of the extinction and the emptiness. Discard the discarding itself completely, not grasping for the non-grasping itself completely. It's not about an attempt to grasp for any type of mind. Let's end it. Otherwise, there's always be a regret to always attempting to dwell within the mind. When it's not ending like this, it's impossible to help samsara. And there's always something that is added on with the state of mind to any conditions of the mind. For others, there's always the add-ons. Without the purification purely through the emptiness and the extinction, let's give it completely. Step back from the stepping back itself completely. Not grasping for the non-grasping itself completely. This is not about grasping for any state of mind or any state of Dharma attainment, not grasping for the non-grasping itself and the ending itself. With this, it will be possible to help samsara without flaw. From not grasping for the non-grasping itself, the mind doesn't grasp for the mind itself. States of mind doesn't grasp for the state of mind itself. Blossoming state, discarding itself. The mind that has no regret for itself in whatever ways. No regret. Discard the discarding itself completely. Step back from the stepping back itself completely. The state of mind doesn't grasp for itself completely. With this, it will end all about the mind or the heart. In this way, it will be possible to purify through the extinction and the emptiness at all times. To be obsessed with the mind, to relate with all things, there's gonna be just the cause of suffering and the suffering on and on. May all and everything be forgiven. Ahosi, Ahosi, Ahosi. It's from discard the discarding itself. Whatever that is given here, it is the purification of the extinction and the emptiness. This is not about giving any types of minds. It's from not involved within the non-involvement itself. Disengage from disengagement itself is the purification of the extinction and the emptiness. It's not about giving the mind to anybody or anything. This is not about giving the mind to the heart in whatever ways. It's from not grasping for the non-grasping itself to the utmost. To be obsessed with the mind or the heart in whatever ways, that is just about sufferings. Therefore, let's not regret to be the well always within the body or the mind in whatever ways. There is no need to regret anything. From not grasping for the non-grasping itself is not about any attempt to dwell within the body or the mind. This is beyond dependence. Beyond reliance. Therefore, let's make a conclusion to the conclusion itself constantly. Let's not regret the state of mind or the attempt to dwell within the mind. Otherwise, the mind is not ended. How can you bless the beings? What is there to be given to the beings? Samsara has all types of minds. How can you give whatever they already have? Are they going to take that? This is called give something that is ungraspable, purifying through the extinction and the emptiness, giving something that is ungraspable through the extinction and the emptiness as a purification. Therefore, give it to the utmost, that which has nothing to do with disengagement. Disengage, discarding the disengagement itself completely, uninvolved with disengagement itself, step back from the disengagement itself completely, in the mind, in the heart. Difficulties is there because of the mind and the heart, child. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. Make a conclusion to purify the conclusion itself with everything. This will be even beyond automatically giving. Beyond as it is, beyond let it be happening by itself. The conclusion that concludes itself is beyond automatic, beyond what happens. Let it be happen. It is what it is. It's beyond this. Step back from the stepping back itself completely. In the mind, in the heart. There is no regret with the mind in whatever ways. Not grasping for the non-grasping itself completely, then there is no regret with any states of mind at all. Even not grasping for the non-grasping itself, what is there to be left? The point is, the conclusion is not to the utmost, not according to whatever that is mentioned here. Then if it is to the utmost and completely, then it will end all burdens about body, mind, form and formlessness, all about doing the mind in whatever ways according to belief values, to make the mind in whatever ways according to belief values of practices, that is still a burden. Traditional values to make the body and mind in this way or that way is a burden. Let's end all these burdens. End all about traditional values, belief values, and all values of concepts. Uninvolved within the uninvolvement itself completely, absolutely. It's not about anything within the non-involvements completely, absolutely. And proceed with everything simultaneously. That's blossoming flowers without regret, its blossoming state. Any petals doesn't have any regret to keep it to its forms. It's from the discarding itself, there is no regret. Let it be absolute, then there is no regret with knowing or not knowing, seeing or not seeing, or any state of mind. There is no concern with knowing or not knowing with anything. Let it be absolute. This will be by the essence of the enlightenment truly. If there is still a concern, it's not absolute, it's not gonna be flawless. This is not about trying to end it, That is like grasping again, wanting again. Step back from the stepping back itself. It's from not grasping for the non-grasping itself. This is not about trying to end the mind or the heart in whatever ways, because this is about grasping. Still grasping, that is overlaying of grasping mind. Let the conclusion become absolute, so that it will be a true conclusion. When it's not absolute, it becomes the suffering and the cause of suffering, endless. Any state, any conditions, any mind has the suffering in itself totally. What the so-called happiness is also a state of mind, and every state of mind is unsustainable without exception. It's suffering in itself, it's the unbearableness, and it has non-self in itself. No exception. Every state of mind is like that. Any conditions of the minds are like that. The belief values, the values given to any concept, liking to be happy, this is from the desire and delusion which is given by one's own value. Liking itself is the suffering. In the state of liking is a state that is suffering, is unbearable in itself. It's the desire, delusion, delusive attachments that is composing that kind of state. Not involved within the non-involvement itself. Will purify all belief values, all the belief values of suffering. Listen well. Every belief value or traditional value and all values are the suffering. Listen well. Listen well. Everything, suffering is the state in everything. Form and formlessness, appearances, concrete and intangible, no exceptions, is in the nature of anicca, dukkha, anatta. So everything is not involved within the non-involvement itself, cut through all the deluded knowing, help unwinding with everything, cut through the deluded knowing for everything. From not grasping for the non-grasping itself with everything. This is called suffering that doesn't grasp for itself. Everything is from not grasping for the non-grasping itself. This is the suffering that doesn't grasp for itself. From not grasping for the non-grasping itself, automatically there is no grasping with everything. So let's make a conclusion absolutely and to the utmost, until automatically it's like that at all times. Then there is ending for all the gaps. The sunyakap, the period that is having no Buddhas coming down for enlightenment for all beings, is the most suffering period of time. All those gross beings will be born at this time. Similarly, whenever you don't have a conclusion for the conclusion itself, there is a gap of your sunyakap. All the karmic difficulties will parading to appear and emerge in the body and the mind of everyone. Whenever time there is no conclusion within the conclusion itself is called sunyakap, the gap of no enlightenment, no cutting through deluded knowing within one's mind. All the fabrication of the mind in this way and that way will be parading at this time, at this gap, at this period. Because there is no helping through the enlightenment, there is no conclusion within ending the mind and the heart at this time is called sunyakap. How can you trust your mind? How can you trust your own mind? Suffering is within the mind and the heart totally. Therefore, help cut through deluded knowing through the enlightenment for both internal and external, wherever you are. Wherever you are, it's from not grasping for the non-grasping itself to help unwind, cut through deluded knowing for one another at all times. Let's not be the sunyakap happening. Don't look anywhere for the sunyakap. Whenever time that you don't share the enlightenment, that's when the sunyakap is. All the forms of form and formlessness will be parading amidst the body and the mind of its difficulties, parading. Let's make a conclusion that purifies itself at all times. Then it will help end for everything. Karma, karmic difficulties inside and outside. Personal samsara will be ended. And it will help end for both internal and external samsara. From not grasping for the non-grasping itself has to be for all times. The mind or any state of mind or any conditions of the mind are not to be grasped for themselves. Let's make a conclusion within cutting through deluded knowing. When there is a gap that is not sharing, all the karmic difficulties of this body and mind will be parading and emerging on and on endlessly. Step back from the stepping back itself completely. Step back from the body and the mind. Step back from the stepping back itself completely. Let's not be obsessed to use the careless mind on and on.